Universal audio scam exposed. Don't fall
It's
for
really
this.
fishy how cheap you.
Okay, let's see here. Or the coloring on this is crazy. One thing I appreciate about this video so far, it's only 5 minutes and 56 seconds. He's saying there's a scam though. I'm interested in this.
It's really fishy how cheap UAD products are getting lately. I don't know if anyone's noticing, but there's been a steady decline and drop off of these Apollo units. The Twin is so cheap right now. I mean, even just in recent history.
Well, yeah, it's because you don't need them. You don't need them, right? UAD, Apollo. You don't need them anymore. They started making plugins that you can use without it. Oh yeah, dude, $6.99. They were like $9.99 before, right? It's still $800. Yeah, it's cheaper than it was, but
I mean, it's gone down like 300, 400, 500 bucks on some units. And it used to be even more expensive than that a couple years ago. I don't know for sure what's going on here, but we have to look into it.
it's how's it not obvious, bro? It's obvious. It's because they started releasing plugins that work natively. You don't need the interface anymore to use their plugins.
Because a lot of us Apollo users might be a little afraid of what could be around the corner. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't like to do that too much. I don't like to kind of give attention where it's not necessary. But when it comes to...
Bro, I feel like there's no conspiracy here, man. There's no conspiracy here. The conspiracy is that they objectively started selling their plugins and you don't need the UAD fucking hardware anymore. There's no conspiracy. And they've done this like, what, it's been like 1, maybe 2 years now since they started doing that.
UAD, their business model has been very, very tricky. I'm sure we're all very aware that they're moving everything
Well, I'm not saying that don't buy it if you don't want it. It's just like the information's out there, man.
onto their native platform slowly but surely.
There isn't Wevo? What do you mean? It's because they're updating the interfaces soon? Oh, okay. Well, it could be that. It's both things. It's both things.
All of their most valuable and important UAD plugins are now available natively. This was a big move for them and definitely put a lot of us engineers who own Apollos, who own satellites, into a space where we're not sure if we're going to be able to get the value out of our units the way that we paid for them or the amount of money that we paid for them. And these DSP accelerators are maybe going to be obsolete soon. I'm somebody who's had multiple satellites. I've had 2 satellites, a UAD Windows one and a UAD Mac one, and they were not cheap. They weren't cheap at all, just to use these UAD plugins. So that is definitely something to be afraid of. If I were you, I would not go out and buy any satellites at all. Do not buy satellites anymore, guys. I don't think that it's a good investment for you. They're all going to be obsolete at some point. So that's the first thing to talk about. If you haven't noticed the price drop there, have a little look. The other thing is their interfaces. Their interfaces are becoming cheaper and cheaper. Of course, there's been a decrease in demand for interfaces, and rightfully so. A lot of really great interfaces have been coming out that are more and more affordable by the day. You've got interfaces like the Norman MT48, which has so many features in it. It isn't the craziest converter ever, but it's really...
That is true, Carpenter. That is very true. Nothing is a good investment and technology changes fast. Yeah. The fuck's a satellite? I think that's a different UAD. Wait, hold on. Yeah, it's a UAD2 satellite Thunderbolt 3 DSP accelerator. This one's pretty expensive, right? Oh, okay.
And it's really affordable when you compare it to an interface like an Apollo Twin Quad, you know, or an Apollo X.
A twin quad is like, that's a pretty crazy name. Like, just pick one number.
6 or whatever, you know, it is a really good option with a lot of I/O. Or a lot of connectivity. And so when you have an interface like that that has even better conversion than the Apollo, that has a really good amount of features and a lot of things you can do with it, it kind of gives me a little bit of an idea of why their interfaces are becoming cheaper and cheaper, and why people might not be buying them as much anymore.
This is crazy. This is the UAD scam exposed.
Apollo is a really good lineup of interfaces, and those interfaces have done a lot for us and a lot for the
Everything, oh man, everything's just gotta be a lie nowadays. It's crazy.
music industry. And I always want to give an ode.
Like, it's not a scam. It's just that they're probably releasing a new interface, and it's also the fact that they started doing plugin versions, like plugin only versions of their plugins. Like, you don't need the hardware in order to do it. Like, they're just less valuable.
And respect that, because I myself came up using an Apollo. That was my first kind of like over $1,000 interface. But when I bought my Apollo, it was almost 2,000. It was like 1,700 US dollars. And the same Apollo today, the newer version of it, goes for $1,000, 1,070 or something like that. That is really weird to me. All right.
It's really weird to me, man. I bought this car the other day, and the value of it plummeted the second I bought it. It's so weird. It's so weird to me, dude. It's like almost like when you buy physical things, they don't retain their value, especially when you use them.
So what I would like to say about this, what I think is happening is that UAD is crumbling. I think UAD is falling apart as a company.
Oh my God. Well, maybe, you know, maybe. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I doubt it, but
I think they have really good products, but I do believe that there is a buyout or there is some kind of valuation they're trying to get to. They're trying to make sales. They're trying to get rid of the company.
bro, this speculation is insane, dude. So first it's a scam. Next it's I think there's like a buyout or something going on. They're crumbling as a company.
I do believe that's what's going on. When you have so many plugins that people are moving into a native platform, when you have interfaces that are getting cheaper, when you have a bunch of decade-long users or multiple decade-long fan base and customers and people who have invested in your gear and your products who might not be able to use it anymore when you do these things, it kind of looks like you're trying to make an exit. You're trying to get out of whatever situation you're in. You sell your business and get as much money as you can. As a business person, something that I do know is if you can leverage your business properly, if you can be as liquid as possible in the final year before, or final 2 years before selling your business, you can inflate your operational costs, you can inflate your revenue, you can inflate everything to make your company look like it's so much bigger than it is in order to sell it for top dollar. Now, of course, this isn't necessarily the most ethical thing, but be honest with yourselves. Not a lot of people know about it.
Man, he's basing a lot of this on like false presumptions. His video before this was a love letter to UAD. Okay, we got to look at that.
Audio, but a lot of people who buy companies don't have to. They just need to see the numbers. When you look at,
it's not a conspiracy, but this guy has a point that Apollo should only have increased in price. Not if they're releasing a new one. Also, it doesn't make sense for the price to increase when they've released plugin like versions of their plugins that work without their interface. I'm not saying that.
I'm selling my business and getting out to inflate.
Right on. What kind of inflation are you into? What was I saying? Fuck, dude.
People know about audio.
The donation sound is like distracting sometimes.
But be honest with yourselves. Not a lot of people know about audio, but a lot of people who buy companies.
Oh, okay. Them selling the plugins that don't and having it not require the hardware shouldn't make them sell it for less, but it makes them less valuable to the public. So they're probably less likely to be able to sell them. Also, there's probably people reselling them for a much lower price because there's probably people just like unable to sell it essentially.
Don't have to. They just need to see the numbers. When you look at companies like, I don't know, Fujifilm, or you look at other companies that, are very, very creative, a lot of people who are running them are not necessarily the world's best photographers, the world's best developers, are not people who are in that space, and audio is no different. Sometimes you have people at the very top that really care and really get it, like with R&D. Rupert Neve is that company. But then you have other companies where it's not the same at all. So with that being said, just be careful when it comes to UAD stuff. Be careful what you're buying. Try not to buy satellites. Things are going native. Try not necessarily to invest.
Why didn't he say that at the beginning of the fucking video? Now I'm kind of wondering if this is disingenuous. This is something that he should have said in the beginning here. This is at the tail end of the video here.
Just be careful when it comes to UAD stuff. Be careful what you're buying. Try not to buy satellites. Things are going native.
Things are going native. That should have been like in the first fucking minute, I feel like.
Try not necessarily to invest in an Apollo brand new, okay? Buy a used one. The price is going to continue to go down. So you don't want to spend any more money than you have to. Do I still think they're worthwhile investments? Do I think they're good investments still? I absolutely think that Apollo units and Apollo interfaces are good investments still. But we have to be wary that if we're going into it for the plugin side.
What does he mean by native? Basically, the UAD plugins you can run without their hardware. Prices are still the same. I guess we could like go through like the Internet Archive and see, I don't know, that's kind of a waste of time.
If we're going into it for DSP, if we're going into it for any reason beyond just having a good interface, something might happen soon. And research and development, firmware updates, software updates, plugin updates, all these things that we are going to need for our units to remain usable in the future, because it is very much so reliant on the software that they put out for the units. That might be a bit of a tricky situation if they're going to sell this company. You don't know what can happen. Okay, so just be aware. Wanted to drop that here and just let you guys talk about it. I mean, that's my hot take. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, this is some borderline defamatory shit. Hold on, I want to see his last video. I've never looked into their plugins. I've tried them a little bit, but I'm not really... I don't know. It's okay. I don't know. I never got into them, basically. UAD plugins are great. I've done the trial, and it didn't really blow my mind or anything. I mean, but I don't think it's bad. Hold on. I don't know. I mean, I don't really see the love letter to UAD here, unless this one is it. I think it was the verse video. Okay. Here, let me just see.
A common interface debate.
This was 5 fucking days ago, dude.
Is should you buy the Apollo Twin or should you buy
Let's see if this is a little bit hypocritical here. I'm just curious. I mean, 5 days, went from 5 days praising a product to all of a sudden calling it a scam. It's a little odd.
Apogee Duet? Now, I've owned so many different Apogee devices, from the Duet to the Elements to the Quartet.
A few moments later.
I mean, it seems like he has like some critical, like he's being a little bit critical here. I don't know. I'm not going to sit through it. I don't know if it's worth it. All right, let's see. He survived the nuke.